Sure.
Joel?
Rich Gussenberg.
Here.
Sean Kimball. Here. Sarah Stevens Morley.
Here.
Jeff Solon. Greg Rosenblatt.
Here.
Chris Daddy.
Here.
Megan Rockwell.
Here.
Dennis Ryu.
Here.
Chuck Neff.
Here.
Anne Marie Cullinan. Mark Ecke.
Here.
Adam Grippo.
Here.
Ann Harrigan.
Here.
Anthony Perugine.
I think he's on remotely.
Thank you. Samantha Rosenberg.
Remote, she said. Yeah.
Tim White.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Dan.
I'm going to have Mr. Perugini and Ms. Rosenberg join remotely on my
Yeah.
laptop
Okay.
because Justin is connected. Tony and Sam, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Excellent.
So I'm on my laptop, but we are up in the boardroom, so I'll turn it around so you could see what's happening and hopefully you could hear what's happening. Does that
Okay.
work?
Sounds good.
Yeah, that works for me as long as they can see. I've tried to do that sometimes. Doesn't always work as easily on the other end.
All right, I have to find a good location to place.
Well, because you're going to
Tony
want to
and-
see the screen.
and Sam.
More than me, you're going to want to see the screen. And when Laurel gets up to do her song and dance routine. So.
All right.
What do you?
I don't know.
They've seen
So Tony and Sam, I don't want to make you seasick, but I'll keep moving the laptop around so you can see.
So this
That's
is
great. We
a,
got a nice little visual to add up, so we're happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone.
hello, nice to get everyone together. This is a joint meeting of the Board of Education and the Next Generation School Building Committee. The purpose of this meeting is specifically to take a look at Phase 1 construction plans, which will be done this summer. We need to both review those plans and formally approve them so that they can be taken up to the state of Connecticut for their approvals. So with that said, Laurel, are you doing the whole presentation or?
Well, Justin was gonna, we're both gonna do it. Justin's gonna start.
Maybe we should take a second for people to just go around the circle and introduce themselves. Justin, I'll start with you. if you will.
Hi, Justin Hopkins. I think you've seen me before. Project manager for Tecton Architects.
Jeff Wazinski, principal at Tecton Architects.
Oh, Vin Massiana, sorry. Focusing on the laptop. Vin Massiana, the chief operating officer for the school.
Junior cameraman. I'm curious, if there's a vote tonight, do you vote on behalf of Jeff?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Adam Grippo, Board of Ed.
Tim White, Board of Ed.
Mark Ecke, Board Ed.
And Harrigan, Board of Ed.
Dennis Reel, Building Committee. Chuck Neff, Building Committee.
Rich Gussenberg, Building Committee.
Chris Daddy, Building Committee.
Megan Rockwell, Building Committee. Sarah Stevens Morley, also Building Committee.
Greg Rosenblatt, Building Committee.
Sean Kimball, Building Committee, and Town Manager.
Laurel Purcell, Pre-Construction Manager, O&G Industries.
Mark Jeffco with ONG Industries, the project executive for ONG.
Rich Shitnick, RKs, and we're the owners, right?
Will Walter with Alfred Bench Company, we're the civil engineers in the project.
John O'Connell, Kohler Roman Engineers with the MVP
It takes a village.
And this is only a small piece, I can assure you. We have many more in the wings. Okay, Justin, now I'll turn it over to you.
So once again, Justin Hopkins from Tecton Architects. We did ask Will and John to be here in case there were any questions related to the site work as well as the electrical work. We're going to get into what's included in the Phase 1 site enabling and early procurement project. But just as a refresher to where we are, our project summary page, we're discussing both schools today, the North End Elementary School, the Norton Elementary School. Where we are in the schedule, we have begun construction documentation. We've recently gone through our design development process. We are scheduling our 100% CDs for the middle of the summer, end of July. We'll be going through a third-party review cost estimation process before going to the state for the general construction of the project around the beginning to the middle of October. All looking to target bidding, the large portion of the project bidding towards the middle of the fall. So our early procurement is intended to facilitate long lead time items and also set up, position the sites over the summer when we can provide the site enabling for the project. So just as a refresher, I know many of you have seen these illustrated site plans and floor plans. Here's the north end site plan. Jarvis to the left of the screen, Marion Road to the top of the screen. By and large, the building and the locations of the parking and access have remained the same since the last time you've seen them. We're happy to report that we've been through both inland wetlands and Planning and Zoning Commission. We've received approvals from both bodies. So the site plans are more or less locked from a regulatory perspective. The Norton site plan, again, North Brooksville Road to the bottom of the screen, Farmington to the left of the screen, and way up top are access to Sharon Drive. Now, when we get into the site enabling, that's going to be an important part of the overall site plan. Just an enlarged portion of the new school in Norton. I'll go back. Everybody's aware of the intent is we are going to be building the Norton School towards the north end of the site while the students are utilizing the existing Norton Elementary. So this part of the site enabling and sequencing is very important to be done this summer so that we can start prepping all this stuff so we're minimizing the disruptions to the students when they ultimately come back to class for the fall. In terms of the main floor plans, I think there was a couple slides that were missing here, but Norton main floor plan, we positioned the academic wings to the right of the floor plan. All of our what we call our public curriculum components include off of our main entry, our administrative wings, our art, media, music, gym, all kind of off of what we call Main Street. So this is a very clear way to kind of organize the curriculum classroom wings and in a way that we can partition the buildings so the public areas can be separated. That can help facilitate some of the community uses that may occur in the evenings and on the weekends. Upper level is where we have our upper elementary grades, so grades 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is similar on both schools, North End and Norton. Some of our specials, art, an upper level to the media center, and music situated off of that Main Street. In both locations, we're opening some of the floor plates on the second floor over Main Street so that we can start to create that dynamic quality of feeling that you're present in both floor plans, both floor plates off of Main Street. So in terms of the early procurement and site enabling, what we have here are the drawings for both schools as well as the specifications or project manual for both projects. They're a series of civil plans as well as electrical plans. So what's included this is specific to the North End. We're providing for site enabling, earthwork, and settlement platforms. So as everybody knows or is aware, there's a topography from west to east. We need to create a level pad for the building. So in areas towards the east of our building footprint, we need to bring the grade up rather significantly. So in order to do that, we need to provide a settlement platform to provide a base for the foundations and the floor slab. So there's some settlement that needs to be monitored over time. So this is an operation that through our conversations with ONG and Arcadis, we feel like this can be done ahead of the schedule, so we're not utilizing those up to 6 weeks of waiting for waiting for that settlement platform to maybe settle an inch. So if we're able to facilitate that over the summer, we can, when we ultimately go out to bid for the major portion of the project, we will not experience any delays due to this particular operation. So it's a way to kind of start goosing some of the work before we actually get there. For early procurement, we know that traditionally in the current marketplace, there are some long lead items for the emergency generator, switchgear, panel boards, and circuit breakers. So through Kohler Ronin, these are a material-only purchase. So those will be going out to bid so that the bidders can retain the materials, which will ultimately be installed by the electrical subcontractor on the project. So Laurel, I don't know if you want to take us through some of the site logistics.
So just what are you gonna see when we actually start out at North End? Around the site, we plan on putting up the perimeter fence so that nobody can wander onto our site. And we will start doing all that fill. So the green is kind of highlighting where we're gonna be taking the fill, and we're basically relocating it on the site. This is the lower side. So we've taken from the high, you can kind of see where all the lines are, digging all that out and placing it down here. There's the settlement platforms, I can't remember what the grid was, but it's probably every 50 feet or so. So what they are is they're just a plate with a rod, and what will happen is as it's being filled and compacted, they have to be monitored. So that was what the concern was, is that we needed to allow approximately four plus weeks for the settlement to occur. And we didn't want a chance waiting until the rest of the building is getting constructed, waiting for the site to settle. So we figured, why not take advantage of the time early and place this fill now. The house that is on Jarvis Street that the town has procured, it's our intention, ONG's intention, to use that as a field office for the duration of the construction until towards the end it will get demolished. That's basically it, and we anticipate this happening between July and September. With the monitoring, it may extend into October, but there'll be quite a bit of site disturbance out there, the earthwork.
So for each of these projects, and we'll get into Norton, there will be a period of activity that will happen on the site, and then the site will more or less be.
Yeah, there's another slide for that. So what will happen is this is about the area of the settlement platforms in the end. And between October and December, all we're going to be doing is maintaining the erosion control measures that are around and continue to monitor as necessary if we have to the settlement platform. So we'll go in, we'll pretty much level it off, we'll get ready to build, and then it'll stop until December. The next phase starts. We've estimated that the construction cost of this phase is $2.2 million, which represents a 3.1% of the total construction budget, in case you want to know what the risk is. You know, we're going out, we want to do this work, yet we don't have the bids for the rest of the project. So what's the value of this in the scheme of things? So between the site work and procuring this electrical equipment, that's what the value is. And again, it's 3.1% of the total construction budget. What's after that?
Yeah, so Norton, very similar arrangement of site enabling and early procurement. Instead of creation of a settlement platform, we are preparing the site to modify some of the play area locations so that we're not extending farther north into the site, as well as provide the Sharon Drive access. So those are the two items that will be best to be done over the summer when the students aren't day-to-day using the building and the site. And similar for the materials purchase, the emergency generator, switchgear, panel boards, and circuit breakers.
So again, it's the same idea with the electrical gear, just pre-purchasing that. This, although North End was more about mitigating risk to the schedule, we didn't want a chance doing these settlement platforms and then thereby holding up our building. This one's more about minimizing disruption to the students for when we start work on site. We're not scheduled to start the heavy building until December, which is in the middle of the school year. So one thing that we recognized is there's an existing driveway. It's really hard to see, but it's very, very, very light. There's an existing driveway that goes around the back of the existing school. where the new building footprint is, this is gonna be disrupted. We need to excavate that in order to put the building in. So we recognize that. We had the fire marshal out there, and it was decided that we needed to relocate this driveway. In the best time to do it, because the classrooms are right here. Instead of us digging and dozering right outside the classroom windows, it was decided, let's do that over the summer. And we're gonna lose, the school is gonna lose all of their play area once we get started. So we decided, since we have that property out front, why not give them an additional place to play? So we'll be setting that up as well.
So the school will not, we're not taking away all of the play area. There are a couple of play apparatus that are at the location of the relocated drive, and the actual ball field is in this general area. So there is Playscape, as many of you know, the Norton site. There is the Playscape that has similar swings, climbing Playscapes, etc. here. We will be leaving, I believe, 2 of the play apparati in this area, as well as the half court of the hot top basketball court there.
Right.
And by expanding the area down towards the southern portion of the site, we will accommodate some of the loss of the kind of free play area that will be happening at the north.
And then the Sharon Drive access that was mentioned, we have to install this culvert here that's over the stream. So we thought it best to go ahead and get that ordered. Again, for when we start construction on site, that will already be in, and we're not waiting for it.
So the takeaway from this, from the Sharon Drive access, is that when the building, do we have another slide that?
No, not
when the building is partitioned, so that we have our construction site to the north of the site, all of the day-to-day construction activity, the workers that are arriving at site are arriving from the Sharon Drive access. There will be times when we have heavy deliveries that are, probably our masonry delivery, our steel delivery, that simply are coming on larger trucks that will need to have access through a gate here. Those will be coordinated and scheduled so that they're not disrupting the day-to-day operations in the school, either early morning delivery or late afternoon delivery. So the project team is making every effort to minimize the amount of disruption to the students during the school year.
And that's his estimate. So this particular estimate is it's about $1 million less than North End, much less site work that we're doing. Still got the electrical gear. So it's $1,664,044 is what we're estimating the phase 1 work to be, and this represents 2.6% of the total construction budget.
So I think that is more or less the presentation of what the current phase 1, and we call this phase 1 of 4. So the phases that we're discussing are phase 1, early procurement and site enabling. Phase 2, general construction. So that's the big project that will be bid. And then phase 3, we may end up combining the FF&E and technology, but for now we've separated phase 3, FF&E, phase 4 technology. Those will more or less be done contemporaneous. Go ahead.
What's FF&E? Oh,
furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So the reason why we separate out FF&E and technology is that if we're going out to bid this fall for a project that is going to be opening to the users in August of 2026, we don't want to be purchasing things like televisions, telephones, Wi-Fi access points, any of the furniture. We want to be ordering that stuff a lot closer to when we're going to be installing it. So.
You want the best AI.
What?
You said you want the best AI.
Yes,
available,
exactly.
so you just
we don't want ChatGPT 3.0, right? We want 6.0. Yeah. Are there any questions about what we have presented? I will say that there is a, sorry, I know I just asked for questions and then I'm going to filibuster. The formal process to go to the state in order to get approval to go to bid is we're required to have a formal vote to authorize the plans and specifications, as well as the professional cost estimate that has been developed. This is going to be the same for every phase that we go through. The two bodies that the state looks for authorization are the local building committee and the local board of education. So we have both of you here, and we're here to answer any questions. And please, if you have any questions directed to site or electrical, I want to make sure these guys get their money's worth here.
Motion?
We will need a
But-
motion, but I want to just open it for questions first. Yeah, go ahead,
I
Ben.
don't have a question, but I did want to make a statement for the Board of Education members that Jeff Sullivan, who's not here tonight, has reviewed all this, is comfortable with going forward. He's obviously a member of the school building committee as well. And also, with respect to Norton and the playground areas, we reviewed this with Jody Roden, the principal of Norton School. That play area is going to be fenced in, that additional piece of play area. It'll be cleared, so we have a good plan. The school principal is also comfortable with this work being done this summer and the use and the shift of the play area to the front of the school. So just wanted to make sure the board members were aware of that.
Okay. Why don't we start here and go around?
There's a question
Oh,
also from
yep.
Sam.
Sure. So first question for you then. You said Jeff is comfortable with it. Are you comfortable with it?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm guessing his opinion was based in your recommendation in part. Critical facilities. I don't know if this is for you, Rich, or maybe for Sean. Critical facilities here in town right now, we have the high school and I forget, one of the other buildings I think is a critical
So you're
facility.
talking about warming center?
Warming centers, yeah. Are we changing any of that with these new schools? Would your recommendation be anything like changing any of that?
The north end school is being developed as a warming center.
Okay.
It has, both have generators, but the north end has a larger generator specifically to keep the school running for at least a day if electricity were to go out. And then keeping the facility warm enough, part of the facility, so that people from the community could come either in winter to heat or in the summer to cool. Norton School, we didn't set up as a warming center because the high school is.
Okay.
It also has a generator. If the electricity went out, it will run the entire school system and keep, or the entire school for the students for a day. But it's not set up to be a long-term warming center because people would go to the high school in that case.
Okay, so thank you. That's exactly what I was getting at. So thank you for that. And thanks for the presentation as well. So the emergency generator you said for Norton is designed for what again? Just for keeping the kids in school for the day?
The emergency generator for Norton will keep the students, if it went off at 9 in the morning, it will run everything in the building for the full day, at which point students would go home. The feeling was if we had multi-day outage, we probably would not bring the students back
Sure.
again. And then the generator has enough power to keep the school from freezing up or whatever for multiple days. But it's not set up so that it would keep it warm enough or be able to run all of the equipment and stuff that you would need to keep it as a warming center.
Sure. Okay, so they're both oil, I assume? The generators?
Diesel.
Are both
Diesel.
Yeah, yeah. What's, do you happen to know what the KW is for either of the two generators? I'm just curious.
800 kW and 600 kW.
Okay. So it's actually a small differential. I figured it would be bigger than that based on the description that Rich just gave.
We worked hard to reduce it for cost, so.
Got it.
I can vouch for that. Yeah, just went back and forth a lot. But the idea for Norton was, we didn't want to have to do an emergency early dismissal if we lost power. We wanted classes to continue, teachers to be able to teach, answer phones, use the small board, et cetera.
Yeah, no, I mean, being a parent, I could see that being a real pain when stuff changes at 9:30 and not even like an early dismissal. Yeah, I understand that. Oh, and this is probably for you, Sean. Do you, at this point, do you have, or has the council voted, is there any recommendation on the Norton property, specifically the house that we bought?
Yeah, not yet. There's still discussions ongoing about
Okay.
whether or not to subdivide or
Okay.
demo the house or sell the house.
So just to confirm though, what's on the map, for what it's worth, makes total sense to me to put something in there as placeholder, but what you're thinking right now on the map is, it's like a half-acre lot, and the way the lines run, huh?
It's more than a half acre, I think.
Oh, is it
7.6 or something?
Yeah, you're right. it is
So
bigger
the
than
piece
that.
that is shown there on the lines, that's already assumed to be included with the school.
The green
No matter
part.
what we do.
Yeah.
The question is what the council's gonna do with the house or not.
All right, so a third of it is basically straightening out a fence, or
Either
this-
way,
a
that
line,
goes
yeah,
this
yeah,
way.
yeah. Okay, and that's gonna give the kid, that'll give the kids definitely a nicer,
And the
A
final
little bit
plans
more
show
visibly.
the bus driveway coming through that
Right,
particular piece.
that's actually
Yeah,
gonna be the new
that's-
drive.
That's right here.
It's basically where the existing driveway and shed garage are. That
got it,
portion,
yeah, of the house.
Which
Got
is
it.
gonna be taken down.
Yeah, yeah, oh, is that, so that was decided, that's coming,
The shed,
The house.
garage and
Oh,
driveway,
the-
yes, that
Yeah, yeah,
definitely, either
yeah,
way
yeah.
has to come down.
yeah, okay.
What happens to the houses
No,
remains.
totally understand.
Yep.
Okay. I think that's it, thank you.
There was a question from Sam Rosenberg. Sam, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah.
I just kind of want to clarify, because that was a lot of information, I should by now know after watching you guys in action, but, so, phase one, simply put, is pretty much prepping the grounds. It's a ground break, right? So we're doing a ground break concurrently with North End and Norton?
And not so much Norton, North End, yes. It's gonna be starting and then stopping though, so it's not a true, let's get going with construction and let's keep going. We're just gonna make the site be level so that we can just start placing concrete come December. But yes, there will be quite a bit of ground disturbance for North End. Norton, you're really not gonna see anything. You won't notice anything other than the play area out front when we're done.
So both sites, pretty much December is when we're starting the work?
Correct. The major building of the new schools is gonna start mid-December.
And that's our phase one. What is the timeline then for phase 2, 3, and 4, based on what was just said?
Well, phase 2 is the building construction, so that's gonna start in mid-December for both schools and be done for the 26-27 school year, both schools. And then in the case of Norton, we will be demolishing the existing school following the construction of the new school. The phases that Justin was mentioning, the 3 and the 4, are the furniture and the technology.
Yeah, we typically want to be ordering furniture and technology devices 5 to 6 months before we're installing them. So approximately, we're doing kind of schematic design, furniture layouts, and working with the district to understand what their technology requirements are in order for us to provide the infrastructure to these. And then approximately a year before occupancy, we'll be going through those design plans for picking out the exact models and furniture for the project.
Great, and I just want to go back to the play area. So you're taking away some of that play area, you're fencing it, and then there's a different entryway for construction?
The day-to-day construction entrance will be off of Sharon Drive, yes.
Okay, got it. That's pretty much it for me. Thanks, Vin.
You're welcome.
Okay, a question on the site fence that you have at both sites. Is it just open chain link fence at both, or is there debris netting and everything on there?
This case, in case of Norton, we were envisioning doing 8-foot high temporary construction fencing with scrim fabric movable. So pretty much just at Norton is just gonna be movable. In the case of North End, we actually plan on driving it. And can you flip back to the North End, either drawing? This will be driven with no scrim all the way around the back of the site. We weren't planning on doing anything with scrim here, but the whole front will be, will have scrim fabric. So that
You
from the
say
street.
driven, the posts will be driven, they won't be sandbagged?
Yeah, I've got them driven.
Okay.
It was Norton that I wanted to be movable.
And
It's
then
very small.
back at Norton, on the exit to Sharon Drive, going through the neighborhood there, do you have some sort of, like, tire clean, or what are you gonna do for?
We're gonna have,
Machine.
it kind of shows up as a construction access, and there is a detail for that on the drawings of what the rubble is here. But we're also gonna have the site contractor keep a street sweeper between the two sites. So they'll have to come and sweep as needed.
I have more questions if anyone does. At Norton there, what do you have for clearance between the existing building and the new building? And has
Here?
that been worked through with like all your equipment that you're gonna have for the like permanent construction, so we don't have to go back and widen that later?
Yeah, so what, I didn't make it part of this, we don't have the second phase, right? That shows the fencing, that's okay.
We do.
Because I was gonna say, right along this edge is where the fencing is going to be, and I think I wanted it 30 feet. It's 30 feet from the corner of the building to the fence.
So like turn radius and everything
Here.
for equipment getting in there once you?
Yeah, for
do
us
the
to be able to
foundation
sneak
you're doing?
around, this will be a pinch point, right there. I mean, we have access to every other side, it's just for getting around here, so it's not the end of the, you know, there's enough there, I think it's 30 feet. This just goes back, this is what will happen when we do start in phase 2 in December. The area will be fenced off.
Ann, you've had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering with that extended play area, is that actually going into the lot, the new lot that has
Yes.
been bought? Is that what I understood?
Yes, as part of the planning and zoning process, we've gone through an administrative subdivision to provide a new lot line that accommodates our layout. Will, correct me if I'm wrong there.
But the house will still be there?
Yes, so I know it's very light on this screen, but the current property line is this, it's almost a square. And the current school property line comes down here, jogs, and then goes out to North Brooksville. So as part of this project, we are assuming this sliver of the adjacent site to more or less extend the lot line that's running north to south out to Brooksville, and that helps accommodate, not only helps accommodate one of our drive lanes, but it also helps support some of the visibility, or what's the term that I'm looking for that I'm blanking on right now?
Site distances.
Site distances.
Even
And
that
then the
little
town will
bit.
have to make a decision what they want to do with the rest of that land.
No, I get that, but it helps just even to have that little
Oh, yeah.
sliver, as you called it, yeah.
It's about a third of an acre.
Yes. It looks small on this site, but it's like 15 or 16,000 square feet of additional area.
Chris?
So Justin, I'm 1,000% advocate of the early procurement. You mentioned generator, switchgear, panels, and breakers. The generator to me is a no-brainer. The gear and panels and breakers, I'm just curious if there's any risk to us because of the ratings that need to be had on those panels when you order them. And those are typically only determined after a study is done. And usually you can't start that study until you know what the transformer is and you have information from the utility company. So in my experience, it's you have all that information or you kind of make a best guess and then the person paying incurs a certain amount of risk, which might be very little, but I'm just curious where we are with that. Do we have all the answers that we know what the ratings are and we've done that study? Yes. We know we had a meeting last week with Mike Prentice from Eversource. Both sites are getting a 1,500 kVA transformer. We've done the study internal, we do that in design,
and then it's confirmed by the contractor when we get the documents.
So you've done the full current study?
Full current study, coordination, and that's why we're pressing that the panel boards be purchased at the same time as the switchboard to maintain the coordination, so we don't end up with Chevys and Fords as a.
So you're coordinated, what with the, so as far as we don't have to worry about breakers later on being changed in different types and such?
Correct, and we have unit pricing as we go further the design. By the time this goes out to bid, there may be a onesie twosie. As you know, you go down farther in the hierarchy.
Well, that was gonna be my next part, is
we might
how
tweak-
far are we in the design to where, but we might need to order one or two other panels or change a couple
No,
breakers, but that's.
no, panels we've got, it's just the breakers within the panels. You know, you get one
That's gonna
breaker,
change, yeah.
you know, it goes
No, I
in
got you.
42. So, yeah, we've covered that up until maybe around June, I think, where we have the opportunity to tweak things in that package. And by then, we are that close to CD, so we're pretty confident.
Well, that's, for me to the committee, that's great news.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Yep.
I have lots of questions.
That's fine, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. So to just be clear, the board is approving all of the construction documents that take us all the way to the end of the all the way to the end of the project?
No, all you're approving tonight are these phase one documents.
Site plan.
Okay.
The summer work that's gonna be done. Come next summer, we will be getting the whole package, and we're gonna have to go through this process again at that time. Initially, there was just gonna be one package done, we were gonna approve it, move on, but then as we looked at it, we said it was worth it to break it up and get some of this work done this summer while we can. So the architects at that point split out this piece and the cost estimates that they're showing you. So that's all you're voting on today.
Okay. So is now the time to ask about budget questions and that sort of thing?
You can
where-
ask
where we
anything
are?
you want.
Okay,
yes.
great, all right. So
We don't
I'll-
have an opportunity to sit with you guys at once, so.
All right, so I'll start with I'll start with a non-budget question, which is the green squares when the project is done, basically the athletic fields and stuff like that. Are they meant to be grass or are they turf?
Grass.
Grass, okay.
Grass turf.
All of them at every school, at
Yes.
both schools?
Yes.
Okay. Did we finalize our HVAC system? Did we stay with the hybrid system or was that changed?
No, we have a hybrid geothermal system. We have some very good news, which is in the packet that was handed out today, showing the EUIs are 20 and 20.5, or 20.5 and 21, I forget which one it was, which is extremely low, almost equal to what the net zero buildings are that have been built in this state. So the engineers have done a great job making extremely energy efficient. But we have hybrid geothermal systems. Each of the schools will have geothermal wells. And in fact, at the moment, we have some test wells being driven at each of the schools that we ought to be getting some information on pretty soon.
So my rudimentary knowledge of geothermal, are the wells closed or open?
Closed.
Close.
Closed, okay, great.
That's essential. And if you hear some negative things about geothermal, a lot of times it's because of the older open wells.
Right, that's why I asked the question. Let me see. The budget document here dated 4/5 says that the North End project is under budget by how much? Because I couldn't quite tell. No, there was a caption on page 1 of the cost summary. Let's see, what's the document?
That's what I said. Yeah, it's about 2 million, we're about 2 million under
cost
on North End
For construction.
Construction.
for construction.
We have, we get two different estimates, one from the architects estimators and one from O&G estimators. They're not exactly the same because as the plans are being developed, there are still some differences of opinion about what we're gonna be seeing 6, 8 months from now, we go out to bid. So the numbers aren't exactly the same. So when they say, here is where we're under, where we're over, there's a space in between there. But we're hopefully at this point in time couple $1 million under budget at the North End School.
And we're on budget at Norton? I
We're
know that was a
on
little
budget
more.
or over budget by about $1 million, depending on which estimate you're using.
Okay.
Just a clarifying question on that, to put it in terms that I understand. We have the budget, we started with $160 million, whatever, $166 million.
Right.
And what you're saying, when you're saying we're below budget by $2 million, that's probably like 5% actuals and 95% updated forecast. We haven't, like, none of the construction
Nothing
stuff, we haven't
is
actually
actual,
contracted
nothing
any
is
construction
actual,
stuff yet.
All their spend is for professional fees.
Yeah, so it's mostly updated forecast versus a budget, so that number will continue to move.
Correct.
Construction
significant way.
estimates
Yeah.
is what we're getting at
Yeah,
this
yeah,
point,
yeah.
based on the design development. You go back to that very first graphic that Justin showed, you know, there's 3 phases of development of the plans. We just finished the second phase and got a second set of estimates. So this is just an estimation of the construction part of the budget. Doesn't look at architectural fees, FF&E, and all that stuff. Those are in the budget but separate.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just add, when you start a schematic design budget, cost estimate, there are certain contingency factors that are applied to those numbers. And those are to help with that forecasting for things that aren't quite yet on the drawings or any details that are yet to be developed. So when you start in, say, a conceptual budget, your contingencies are out here. As you go through schematic design, design development, your contingencies get narrower from the cost estimate perspective because we have more finite information that the cost estimators are looking at. So even within that cost projection, there are contingencies that are built into that cost estimate number to help account for any variances as we go through the cycle.
As well as escalation to get us through to when we bid.
So continuing on that thought, so then what does the bidding, going out to bid do to that number?
Well, that will give you actuals for that moment in time of that particular phase of work. We'll still be forecasting.
But they could be very different from?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I hope they won't be very different. I hope, we have one more set of estimates coming. When would that be?
That's gonna start in July. We'll be done around August, end of August.
Yeah, and those would be based very much on the fairly completed plans at that point. And it should be pretty close to what the market is actually showing. You know, the architects and builders are involved with other projects in the state. They're looking and they're saying, here's what prices we're getting on these particular things. And so the closer we get to construction, the more accurate the drawings are and the more accurate the estimates are. So hopefully, when we get that next set of estimates in, that's gonna be pretty close to what we're actually gonna see when we go out to bid. We don't wanna get a surprise and have the costs come in substantially above what we're estimating.
So I guess when we put these budgets together originally, we were assuming an 8 to 9% increase year over year, I think, for materials. Is that holding to be true? And whether yes or no, the estimates that I'm looking at here, does that assume that we're going to spend all of our contingency that we built in?
No, there's in the cost estimate, I'll start, Laurel, you clean up. The owner's contingency is part of the project cost. That is separate from the construction costs. When we're going through construction cost estimates, there's an escalation number, and there is what's called the design contingency number. So typically, the earlier you are in the project, the higher that number is. It may start at 10%. When we get to design development, I think we're carrying a 5%. When we get to 60% CDs, we may be carrying a 1 or a 2%. Now that is just a modifier that's on the hard construction cost to help account for any of those variables between actual bid documents. In terms of the escalation, we do update the escalation numbers according to what our market forecasts are. And while we use an annual number based on where we are in the calendar year versus where we bid, that is prorated according to the annual escalation number.
And I'm
So
going
while
from
you may have,
memory.
so while you may have started at
6%.
8%, 2 years ago, that was a responsible, appropriate number. I think we're carrying around 6% now. So the market has come down in terms of the escalation.
But just to help explain to Adam a little bit further, the project contingency hasn't been touched, so to speak, right? We still have a project contingency.
Yep.
When the estimates came higher than projected originally, there was value management decisions made to change some of the roof systems and other items that the school building committee adjusted so that we would stay on budget and keep our contingency for the
We
project.
did use some of the contingency to get us more in line for Norton School. We lowered the contingency from, it was 7% down to 5.5%, which, we were informed would be an adequate number. So we, in order for us to get the Norton School project where we needed it to be, we had done quite a bit of cutting after the SS came in, the original estimates, and we didn't want to cut into the program further. So we used part of the contingency to make up that difference.
And lastly, I noticed that you had percentages of qualifying costs. So you had a North End at 46.65%, and, I'm sorry, Norton School at 46.65 and North End at 44.54. So that's a lot of money being left on the table. What sort of things didn't qualify that we made optional or that were necessary but aren't qualifying for reimbursement from the state?
Turn that over to the architects. I know some of that is district funds.
So I know we're concurrently going through, so that is if everything were eligible in the project, I think it's 50% is your reimbursement rate. The original projections were based on the amount of program overage you were compared to what the OGA space standards are. So there's a calculation that according to your student enrollment, you have square feet per student. Understanding that there are some special programs in Cheshire that necessarily put us above those square footage standards. We are going through a space waiver with the state to make the argument that we should increase our eligibility for the, to get us closer to the 50%.
And when you say that, are you talking about the early education wing of the North End?
Yep.
Because didn't the state sort of make us a promise that some of that was going to be eligible because we were supporting that, or that was never a promise?
No, it wasn't a promise. I mean, we talked about it, the space, waivers that we're asking for address that, and those space waivers, 5 to 6% is the difference. I saw an email today that the 5%ers are seemingly getting approved fairly easily. That's not a commitment, I'm just sharing what I heard today. So we're trying.
But every project will also have a certain amount of ineligible costs. So for instance, anything that's an improvement off-site is not eligible for reimbursement. So that contributes to the lowering of your
You say outside, you mean like the land improvements? that sort of-
road work and things like that.
Okay.
Utility tie-in.
Yeah.
Sidewalks that are run along the road that aren't actually on our property, but are right away. So for instance, for the North End, we're running a sidewalk up along Jarvis from the preschool driveway up to the corner of Marion. That particular work won't be reimbursed. So, I mean, there are some things like that you just can't get to 50%. There'll be some small amount, but we're doing everything we can to try to get reimbursement on it.
Also, early in the project, when you have not expended any contingencies or allowances, those are by definition labeled as ineligible until they become applied to the actual project.
Okay, so there's quite a bit of float, sort of,
Yeah.
for the lack of a better
There,
term.
there's no
Still in
project
there.
that's gonna be 100% eligible because there are other things in your technology budgets that the state doesn't reimburse for kind of disposable technology, software updates or, what's the term that I'm thinking of? Kind of subscription services, stuff like that, so.
And even like bonding fees and stuff, right? Financing, there's certain costs that are just not eligible.
And all town administrative costs, so your legal fees and things like that are not considered eligible.
Oh, is that, I'm sorry, that was, oh, yeah, that was listed at the top, wasn't it? Okay. All right. I think I'm good.
Comments or questions? Thank you, Adam. Chuck?
At the north end site, can you just talk about the whole process of this settlement platform? So you're gonna essentially like overburden the soil so it compacts itself under its self-weight of the soil you're adding, right? Is the soil you're bringing in or putting it on top of this platform, is it all from the site or is it being trucked in? And then what happens to the overburdened soil afterwards?
Do you want to answer, the idea is to borrow everything from the site, right? We're not trying to bring anything in.
Yeah, that's correct. So essentially, the geotech report has borings scattered throughout the entire site, and what we found is this portion has soils that are suitable to be used as fill beneath the building, not 12 inches beneath the building, that's gonna have to be structural fill imported, but to build up, the 6 or 8 feet from the existing grade up to where that platform is gonna be. This is the area of the site that has those suitable soils. So in the early release package, that's why we're showing the contours back here and saying to the contractor, you can get as much soil as you want back there up to, we don't want it to go beyond, but this is where that soil is coming from, move from here down to there. And it's placed in 12-inch lifts, compacted with the platforms that then they can, measure once a week and they can figure out how much it drops, and after like 4 weeks or 6 weeks, they go, okay, it's dropped 1.5 inches. We feel comfortable it's not gonna drop anymore, and now you can start putting your footings and your foundations there.
So we know from the geotech report what it's supposed to settle, right? When they go out there and they do it, if it settles the full amount, let's say in 2 weeks, what does that do to the pre-construction work and what you have to do to the site there?
Well, I think it just puts us ahead of the game, but I don't think it really matters, because you're not gonna get out there until December anyway.
Right.
Well, if it settles that much, wouldn't that mean like the geotech report was kind of off for what the soil condition was? Like it shouldn't settle faster than you think it should, right?
No, it's an imperfect science, obviously, so it's gonna be right within the range. At the end of the day, we have a finished floor, and we're designing so that they're bringing this grade up to a certain level, understanding it's probably gonna settle 3 inches. But for that, and as a part of this early release package, this contractor owes a survey so that when the next guy comes in, they know exactly where that platform is, and they know, okay, we gotta bring in another 6 inches, another 4 inches. So we're gonna have a survey done to tell us that.
Do those plates stay?
Yes, there it is there's a spec, there's a picture in the spec. It's a plate and then there's a rod, a metal rod, that I believe the rod will come out, the plate will stay.
It's a measuring stick.
Do you want to go back to your picture of North End, your plans and specs? Because it kind of shows the settlement platforms there, just so everybody has an idea.
It's on C1.
Right here. Those are how many we're putting in. There's about 18 of them or so. And there's just these 2 foot by 2 foot plywood with a metal rod sticking up. So they'll be placed, stone will be placed, or the fill will be placed around them, and then we're just gonna keep measuring, surveying.
Yeah, I guess I'm just saying, like, if it settles a lot more than you think, that's not good, right? Because the soil that you're building upon isn't what you thought it was.
Yeah, I would say that is not unlike any other conventional excavation for footing or a foundation. We need to make sure that the subsurface is suitable for bearing.
Well, whatever the settlement is, I guess what you're saying is you're gonna survey it afterwards, and then you're gonna build it back up to what it.
Right. Yeah, either way, we're leaving it at least a foot short for the next contractor to come in and finish it off.
Gotcha.
So the fact you're doing this in the summer, you've got those several months in between.
Yeah, we were just
By the
worried
time
about
we go to put
we were
in
worried about
footings.
the 4 weeks waiting for it to stop settling. That's what we were worried about.
So we should be
Because-
absolutely certain come December.
Yeah, after 6 months, it's not settling after 6 months.
Right.
Well, there's also testing, you know, there's going to be testing of the compaction, et cetera, there, by the independent testing.
Right, the way that the building foundations are for this particular project, I believe for Norton too, you just have frost walls. We've got very simple 3-foot walls. We just want to go to town the minute we can, so.
Adam?
So, I'm an accountant, so I don't build things, but I do live across the street. And there's a lot of water that comes off that hill, there's a lot of water behind this site. And the platform that you're building, is it just compacted dirt to make it really hard to support is it on bedrock or anything, or is there a lot of rock underneath for drainage? And, you know, like the way my house was built, it's a brand new house, there's a lot of rock underneath the foundation, so I guess the water kind of just sort of flows by the house. Luckily, still works. 1 year down, we've been really good. Is that sort of the thought process for this foundation, or how does this foundation work? Is it gonna fail in a corner and then the whole school's gonna go like this, or like how does that system all work?
There's no bedrock out here. So basically, the geotech has taken borings, and they know, based on what they find, the suitability of those soils. We're over-excavating the top layer of unsuitable soils, bringing in the good stuff down, so we have nice, every 12-inch slits, they're compacting it. There's gonna be a third-party testing agency, getting compaction tests. As far as water running down, during construction, there's gonna be diversion swales to capture the water and swale it around, so nothing's gonna be running over this thing and causing ruts and sinking and those types of things. After it's already built, of course, there's a big paved parking lot with catch basins, so no flows coming across there.
Do you have like total control of water, or at least the best as you can hope, and then?
Yeah.
So while there may be surface water that you've seen evidence of, the groundwater elevations are relatively deep. So we will not be required to have any blindside waterproofing or drainage system under the slab. We will, however, provide a perimeter drain along the foundation on the west end of the building or on the uphill side of the building. So any water that may be within that first 3 to 4 feet that is more or less surface groundwater making its way down, we're able to capture that, divert it around the building, and put it into our stormwater system.
Yeah, if you can see the topography. These are contours coming down. So you can see we're cutting into the hill right here, and we're filling over here. So we're not showing the settlement platforms up here because we're over excavating what's already there into the good suitable soils. This is where we have to bring it up, and that's where we have to monitor the settling. This is not going to be any settling out here. So we're going to cut that. It's almost like, here's your topography, and here's your floor. Back here, we're just excavating this, but we're filling everything that we're cutting in here, and that's what those platforms are going to be.
I will note that was emphasized at the slope for dramatic effect.
Ski slope.
It's pretty steep, but yeah, I was like, because like when you're done, is it gonna be like a huge ledge like up at the
There's no rock.
west end?
No.
Okay.
No, and the slopes, the maximum slopes that we're showing here and under final conditions are 3 to 1. So it's 3 horizontal, 1 vertical, and that's required by your zoning regulations. And a 3 to 1 slope you can mow with a hand mower, so it's not excessive in any way.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, Tim?
So just, I'm curious, does our building code here in Connecticut account for earthquakes? Because it's this new thing we have here. That's just a simple question. I mean it seriously.
That's a question.
Does it incorporate earthquakes?
Yeah, there are seismic zones that we provide the structural lateral force.
I'm not trying to blow stuff up, I'm curious.
One little earth.
I do have a question about the energy performance. So I'm just curious, I'm looking at it and I was assuming when I looked at this, each of the different colors would, the energy uses, each one of them I would think would go down, but that's not the case. The heating goes way down, but then it looks like the fans and cooling or receptacles, I'm not sure, some of them get larger, the green, the pumps, I can understand that, the heat pumps. But I'm just curious, like, is there a 30-second to 60 elevator pitch on what's happening with that? Is it just a shift among?
On the energy model?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just shifting down, and we're breaking up the parts in there, so you have on the left the standard that you're gonna go by, and on the right is our design, and I believe it's 42% better than the code that we're going by.
I think it's 36.
Is it, I haven't seen the latest.
30,
iteration.
36 and 34.
Yeah. That's okay, so, no, but I'm just looking at it, and it looks like heating goes way down, and then,
Well, I think it's relative to, the number's the same, but because the number's the same, but the overall got smaller, so it looks like it's bigger. If that makes sense. If I have 10 kW of load, and I hate to talk over technical, but 10 kW of receptacle, and I've got 1,000,000 kW of overall load, it's a small percentage. So that's why it's a small color on the standard. But then as we reduce the other items, that same absolute value grows as a percentage of the overall. So it looks larger, but it's not.
oh, got it, okay, yeah.
It's a
Does
larger
that make sense?
percentage.
Yeah, no,
It's
I
a
mean,
larger
that I
percentage
can
of the
understand.
smaller number.
Yeah. That's not how I see like the y-axis here, but that's okay. I get that.
So the backup within these results shows what the proposed design is versus the anticipated ASHRAE 90.1 2019. So that gets into a little bit more detail about the distinction between the systems.
I'm just one last thing, I'm just trying to understand this still. Is it, I'm looking at it and I'm seeing orange, no, skip orange, I'll go with green, pumps. Red is heating. I see those as two different sort of, two different items entirely. They would not be two items within the same category. Like heat pump is a unit that heats, and heating, I'm wondering if that could be like oil generators or something, or diesel.
It's all electric building.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, the heating and the cooling, I'm trying to think of how to explain that.
Well, yeah, I guess I'm just looking at it and say heating and cooling is one sort of category of, that I could put as under energy, whereas pumps, fans, and receptacles are equipment, but heating and cooling is not equipment per se, that's why, maybe why I'm a little confused.
It is in that you're
Okay.
using equipment to heat and cool, and it takes more energy to cool. So you see the paragraph above it, I'm not exactly sure if
Okay.
I'm on the Norton page. I don't know if you're.
Got
on
it, yep.
Okay. See above it says proposed design is 91% more efficient when it comes to overall heating.
Yep.
And uses 42% less energy than the baseline for cooling.
Yep,
Because cooling, moving colder air takes more energy than moving warm air.
yep,
So there's gonna be more, power used for that. That's why they're not just flipping and going the other way. You know, cooling and heating, you're moving the same air, it's one's heavier air and lighter air.
yep.
Does that
So,
make sense?
yeah, I'll,
Really? I mean, yeah, but it's not, it's not,
Sorry, I'm
it helps
So,
me understand.
maybe I can help you, but this is always dangerous when your architect is describing a heating or an HVAC system. If you go into the description of the parameters, the modeling inputs and assumptions, you'll see that there's a proposed design and the ASHRAE design. When you go down to heating efficiency, the proposed design assumes water source heat pumps and air source heat pumps for the gym and cafeteria. The baseline code standard assumes natural gas boilers at 80% efficiency and a natural gas furnace at 80% efficiency. So those would account for the relative size of the pie, as well as heat recovery. The proposed design has the DOAS unit with 70% effectiveness. The ASHRAE standard has no heat recovery. Similarly, when you go to pumps, We have chilled and hot water pumps, and for the baseline code analysis, it's just simply a hot water pump at a certain GPM. So that starts to, those are the data sets that go into,
Different designs.
yeah, the different designs.
I am comfortable with it, I'll try to absorb it.
Okay.
I'm still missing that.
Keeping in mind that
Yeah, no,
we'd
it's,
love to have the board come back with us again
yeah,
in the near future, so we don't have to go through all the issues and questions. I'd like to kind of bring us back now, if we can, to focusing on the phase one design. I need 4 different motions. I'm going to need one for each of the 2 schools from the building committee, and then for one from each of the 2 schools from the Board of Education. So I would like a motion from the building committee to approve the early procurement and site for drawings and project manual for the North End School.
So moved.
So moved?
I'll
Got that, Ron?
Yep.
Seconded by Greg?
Great.
Discussion? All those in favor? What's that?
Do we need to add the cost to that motion?
Do we need to add the cost to that motion?
Yes.
An approval of the cost estimate?
The specific, oh, do you have the 042? The specific motion needs to reference the plans and specifications and costs. Yes, so.
Okay, so if you would add the cost.
Unmoved.
You can just amend it.
Just so you know.
We'll just take a friendly amendment, no one has a problem, to include the cost estimates also.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. And then, oh, you looked like you were.
I was just, are you gonna do the both school building committees first, and
That's
then
what I
you'll
was
do the
gonna
board?
Yes.
Okay, and when you do the board, can you read the proposed motion again for the
Okay.
board members? Thanks.
So once again, we need a motion for the early procurement, approval of early procurement and site for the drawings and project manual and cost estimates for Norton School.
I'll move that.
Sarah, second?
Second.
Seconded, Dennis. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Get us the cost.
And what?
We'll get the cost of tomorrow.
We had the costs, they were sent out.
Oh, I
to
have that.
everyone.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. The cost, I didn't send anything to Board of Ed. That would- That would be up to Jeff to send out to the board, but the building committee received the manuals, the cost estimates, that was all in the package.
So, do we vote?
Yes.
Yes. it is, yes. All right. So, Board of Education,
Do you have a motion for us?
it would be the same motion for the North End School to approve the motion for
One
early
second.
procurement. What's that sound?
Yeah, we're getting, is that, somebody turn on their mic, that may be the feedback we're getting?
Turn off, just go on mute for a minute until we read the
Sam, can
motion.
you mute for a sec?
That was weird.
I don't know.
All right, Sam, we're getting a lot of feedback when you unmuted.
Already getting it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, one thing you could do is if you want to just leave the meeting and come back in, that usually clears it up.
An inopportune time, since we're just about to do a motion and stuff.
Can I ask a question then? Do we
Sure.
need to have that number in the motion?
I would.
Yeah.
So for the north end, it's that 2,266,000, and then Justin will bring up the number for the Norton School as well.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
All right.
Sam back with us?
You are now noise-free, Sam.
Okay.
Thank you. It's really the device, I need a new one.
There you go. So for the Board of Ed, we need a motion to approve the early procurement and site for the drawings and project manual for, is this the North End.
This is
Yep.
the north end.
Cost of $2,266,376 for an estimated cost. So moved in. Second? Adam, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't hear, did Sam vote?
She did?
She has raised her hand.
Okay. So 6-0. And we need a motion, once again, for the approval of the early procurement and site for the drawings and project manual for the Norton School at an estimated cost of $1,664,044. A motion? Tim, second? Ann, any discussion? Yes.
Yeah, with regard to the, and I think this should be really quick, with regard to the Norton backfields, so what we're doing is we're going out and starting site construction this summer, and you're gonna put fencing around it. Are you gonna actually be doing anything? There's a few acres of open field that the kids could use for the fall,
That's correct.
and there's trees that need to be cut that kids can't go near. The map you showed gave me the impression that that few acres of fields in the back would be fenced off for the fall.
We're only in the trees we're only in the trees in the summer. The whole field they can have until December.
Okay,
Just that blue area up in the corner.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's in the trees.
Yep.
okay. So you're actually not even cutting
No, we're
any
not.
more trees than that, just where
No,
that blue
we're
area
just
is?
trying to get the culvert in and get that access.
Oh,
That's all we're trying
but
to
when
do.
the full construction happens, you'll be cutting down more trees
And that's when the
after
whole
December.
area, yes, and the whole area becomes off limits in December.
Okay, and that's December 2024, so we're looking at a year and a half where those fields are gonna be off limits.
More, because if we have to build a temporary parking lot, it's gonna be in that location when we turn the building over. That's a whole
Yeah,
other,
we didn't go
that's a
through
whole
the
other
whole-
subject, but.
Yeah,
There's a phasing plan,
yeah,
and what it shows is because we have to take down the old building, once they move into the new building, staff has to have a place to park, and so they're gonna be parking off to the right of the new building and coming in off of Sharon Drive while we're taking down the old building.
Mhm.
And then paving that, setting up the parking lots, and
Yeah.
then that area that was the temporary parking becomes a new field.
okay.
So all that happens after we move into the new building.
It's
Yeah.
basically spring of 27 before we're off and you have everything back.
Okay.
Yeah, so it shows here, that's the phasing.
That's when we're building a new building.
Got it, okay, I was focused on that field in the front where the house is that we bought, but, so my simple question is, or statement, we are going to be maximizing the space time for the kids the best we can.
The best we can.
And you've thought it through
Right.
quite a bit.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, one
over the
thing-
course of time, over the course of the 3 years.
One
Got
thing
it.
both O&G and, well, actually all three firms that we work with have dealt quite a bit with situations where they're building a new school next to an older school. And so there's been a lot of discussion about that and working with the school system. Finn's been very involved with that process, as has the staff over at the school. So the phasing and everything is meant to, as best we can, not disturb the Norton School while the construction's going on.
Yeah,
Might actually be a real nice learning experience for them, because they'll have an opportunity to see some of, the construction as it goes, and there may be some, learning that can go on in that process. So, we'll see.
I know you're in the middle of discussion on a motion, but because I referenced this in the P and Z hearing, the most successful occupied renovations that we've experienced generate a level of excitement rather than dread amongst the student body. So you start incorporating, students of the month, make it a unique tour of the site after the workers go home. You have, late in the afternoon field trips with select students. You start to incorporate some of the curriculum or activities within the existing school so that they're a part of it. And the workers love it as well. You'll see that there's maybe signs that are put up, you know, on the fences. There's usually a spirit of community in these things, at the
Yeah.
best ones.
No, I think that's great. I have a second grader, and the way I see this is it's a really, really big fort. And it is super cool.
Well, you can have your child come and climb up the steel work.
You are.
All right, we have a motion on the floor, it's been seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We have seven.
We have a
oh.
raised
Okay.
hand from
Seven oh.
Ms. Rosenberg.
Okay.
That's my vote then.
Yes, 6. 'cause
Thank you, Sam.
Yes.
6, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Thank you.
5, 6.
Yeah, and Marie's one.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, very good. I guess we need a formal vote to adjourn for the Board of Ed, and the construction committee will continue. So, a motion for the Board of Ed to adjourn. All those in favor? All right, thank you very much. You are welcome to sit in, as always.
Thanks, Rich.
We will be here for a while, yeah.
I hope that wasn't too painful with the motion, moving around.
The chair did not hear that.
No, it's good, I need
The
to
chair
ask
did not
for
hear your motion, so.
Yeah,
You want to take a couple minutes and?
I heard that, and I got it.
Public correspondence comments. No one from the public. Do we have any correspondence?
No one wrote me.
Okay, feeling bad about that?
No, I would like someone to write me. Maybe next time.
Approval of the meeting minutes from March 28, 2024. Do I have a motion? Dennis, second?
Second.
Sarah? Any discussion?
I abstain.
All those in favor? 1, 2, 3,
I abstain
4,
also.
5. Opposed? Abstention.
3 of them.
3 abstentions. There we go.
Unless the site plan changes. We're just trying to, yeah.
Action on submitted invoices.
6 invoices, 3 each for each
I
project.
don't have that in front of me. All right, 6 invoices for New Norton School, Arcadis, owner representative services, $6,923.38. Do I have a motion? Sean, seconded Dennis. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Pre-construction services, O&G, also for the New Norton Elementary School, $10,949. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Greg? Seconded? Dennis? All those, any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Architectural services, Tecton Architects, $132,462.40 for New Norton. Chris, moved, seconded. Dennis, discussion? None, all those in favor? Unanimous. New North End Elementary School. Pre-construction services, O&G, $10,949. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Dennis seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Owner's representative services, Arcadis, $6,780.20. Motion? Sean, seconded. Greg? Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. And architectural services, Tecton Architects, $151,220.34. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Chris? Dennis, seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? And once again, unanimous. Sean, you voted on that?
I did,
Okay.
yes, sorry. Thank you.
Chairman's report, couple of things. Community information meeting, Jeff Solon and I have signed off on a letter which is being mailed out to anyone who lives within 1 mile of either the North End School or Norton School, which invites them to a meeting to be held on April 30th at Norton School. Anyone else can come, but we specifically wanted to invite those people to go through what's happening this summer and what they can expect in terms of construction that'll be happening near their neighborhood. We want to make sure that they are fully aware and that they also know if there's any issues or concerns, how they will contact people and let them know. So trying to be as proactive as we can in that process. I don't
We
think
have
that's
copies of the letter that the committee members want them, pass them around, samples.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. That's a great thing.
Yeah. Pass it around. And I don't think they've actually gone out yet. When I talked to Jeff.
No,
yesterday,
they haven't.
They're different letters for
Yeah.
both locations,
They are
Same
different
letter,
letters.
we're only doing one meeting.
but different letters.
Well, there's 2 letters, yeah. There's 2 letters.
You get one for your area, but it's one meeting.
But it's one meeting at Norton School
Is this a 1 mile
on the
radius?
30th.
1 mile walk?
But the people in the north end got obviously a different letter, with a map on the back of the north end project.
And I was told it was like 2,800 households or something like that, which sounds like too many to me if it's a mile around each school. Because I don't think there are only like 12,000 households in the whole 30-mile Cheshire community.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Jeff chose the one,
Around Newbury,
yeah, Jeff
really,
chose
it's
the 1
so-
mile
it's-
thing, I'm not
it's
certain.
more
You said 1
complicated,
mile,
the houses are
1
smaller.
mile radius, right? So
Yeah, that's-
that creates a bigger.
Yeah, because I thought
2 miles
initially
across.
he would just do those streets that were right around the school.
No,
You guys start going on a mile, but then incorporating a lot of other neighborhoods. Anyway,
Who's presenting it, though? Like, who's gonna be there?
ONG.
we haven't worked all that out yet. I know, Jeff and I will be there, and I'm assuming ONG, Arcadis, Tecton. We'll have the same gang that did the public meetings back in October. And it's really just, it's gonna be a summary of here's what you can expect this summer, here's the kind of traffic that's gonna be going through, and where they will be, and, some things like that. So we'll see. We did not get very large numbers back in October when we were doing the presentations, and we'll see, what we end up getting. So maybe as we get closer to actual construction, we'll have more people that will want to know what's going on. Inflation Reduction Act, we have a meeting set up next week. And a number of us taking a look at that process, so we'll have more to report on that at the next meeting. Sat in a meeting yesterday, was it yesterday? I guess so. Low Voltage Working Group. And that was about a 2-hour meeting looking at all kinds of stuff, cameras, exterior door access, coordination between the schools and the town, lockdown controls, intrusion detection, fire alarms, phones. So, I did not participate, I just sat and listened, but a lot of technical people with a great deal of knowledge going through all those little minutia things that were so important to handle. Vince coordinates a lot of that meeting.
You make it sound like it wasn't the gripping discussion that it was.
I did make it sound that way, didn't I? I think for some of those people, it was a gripping discussion.
Yeah, and it continues on. And we made good progress yesterday.
Yeah, and there will be more of it. I have asked, and they have agreed for Dennis and Chuck to form our finance committee. That committee, as you'll recall, we approved the finance procedures earlier in our work, and their main job is going to be to oversee any change orders, working with ONG and Arcadis and Tecton, as any of those change orders come up to a certain dollars, they will be able to approve those change orders. Over certain dollars, they'll come to us with recommendations. But I thank the two of them for volunteering to do this. And I know we're in very good hands there. And that's all I have. Owner's rep and CM at risk, monthly schedule update. I loved it.
Yeah, you guys gotta get off of this
Big paper
It's
with all
supposed
the
to be
neat
green.
colors.
You guys want one or two?
Well, if you keep bringing the paper, you're making us dependent.
Oh, jeez. You want some?
Well, I do forward it out to people, but it's hard to read this.
You need more?
Computers for.
No, we have an extra.
Plenty, right? Okay, so we've highlighted boxes of items that are underway or things that we need to start thinking about in the near future. So everybody's aware we have our PCR meetings next Wednesday, the 17th. Now we have our first milestone there related to construction, starting to bid April 30th. So we're going to the state the 17th, and I'm assuming it's going to take a certain amount of time before they give us the approval to proceed. The minute they give us the approval, we will start advertising. So the target right now is April 30th. The bottom of the first page is just what has been completed. So completing these all these documents, completing the cost estimates for phase one. Flipping to the top of page 2. So, local authorities having jurisdiction sign-offs, that's something that the team will be working on over the next week or so. We're at the joint meeting tonight. And then I've given about 8 working days for the Office of Grants Administration to give us the approval to bid. Once we do go out to bid, I just put in there just a target of 26 days. It may or may not take that long, depending on when we get out to bid actually. And then moving down, we've got the geothermal test wells, which were reported on. Are you gonna talk more about that or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll let Rich. Then you got another contract that's on the horizon, so just giving you a heads up on that. You need a materials testing agency that's gonna be doing the compaction testing while we're backfilling over at North End.
Dennis had just asked about that.
Okay, so that's on the
He was
horizon.
worried we were gonna miss that one, so.
No, it's coming. And then on page 3, as was mentioned, Tecton is in the throes now of construction documents for both schools. And you can see that target date of July 25th, which is then gonna, that is the trigger for a whole another round of reviews, and that's where it really gets, you know, that's when all the work really comes together.
Just to clarify something, you know, Justin has talked about 60%, and you've talked here about 90%.
Yeah, we have established an internal check set with our consultant team for the middle of May, where we are going to be compiling our drawing sets.
So that's internal for you?
Yes, yes.
For us, we will get another set of estimates after 90%?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
So that, you hired the local reviewer, you guys hired the local review, remember for Steve? You hired the structural peer review. That's when the commissioner's gonna be, the commissioning agent's gonna be doing a review, I'll follow up on that set of the August set.
And then you'll make all the adjustments based on those reviews, and when it comes to us, it'll be perfect.
So then on page 4.
No change orders, guys.
Page 4, we do have some more state approvals that we're keeping an eye on because, again, this will impact us being able to bid the big job. So we've got OSTA at North End. This application was submitted to them. We're anticipating sometime in May hearing back. At North End, we've got the herpetologist and the archaeologist, I believe, are both on site doing what they're gonna do. I guess you could give an update, Will, maybe? Yeah, no?
Sure, yeah, they're both mobilized to the site, and each of them has about a 3-week process or so. So I'm expecting the preliminary reports back in the next couple of weeks.
So we'll see those, and it's important that those reports are done because that will impact our general permit, which means we really can't start any earthwork at North End until we've got DEP's approval to start work. And flipping over to page 5, Norton, we also have some state approvals there. Same thing, the DEP stormwater permit, which is just, those applications just went in a couple of weeks ago. And then there's a DOT encroachment permit because we are working on the state road there. So that's just something we're keeping an eye on.
What are we doing on the road?
Just the driveways, the fact that we're.
Just to cut in?
Yeah.
Curb cuts.
And that's basically it. You'll see there's much more that's coming, but that's what's going on right now. And I'll start collapsing these next month. I'll collapse these planning and zoning. We don't need to keep track of them anymore. That's our update.
Question on page 3. Page 3.
Yes.
Page 3, Dennis?
Yeah, at what point does the committee get the construction documents, at 90% or 100%?
Well, everybody should be looking at the 90% at least.
Okay.
That's the next formal deliverable that we're all gonna be looking at. And then that won't be the final bid documents, obviously. Everybody's, Tecton will be adjusting everything based on everybody's reviews.
So end of July, right?
Excuse me?
End of July?
Yes.
No, it'll be,
That's when the threshold is.
July 25th is when this target is coming in, and then there's this whole round of reviews, so.
But you guys want to see it at that
We'll get them on
threshold.
July 25th.
Yeah.
Well, it'll probably, if this is a Friday,
Is
it'll be
that
a
a
Monday.
Friday? You'll get them on
Yeah.
Monday.
Depends on what day of the week this is.
Sunday
But then they go out to another set of estimators, right?
Yes, we're gonna go
So
through a
it'll
whole
be-
nother round of estimating.
And the same process as before,
Mhm.
2 weeks for North End, 2 more weeks for Norton or whatever.
Right. And, you know, there's this set that's coming the third week of July, but actually when we go up to the state, we're not going up to the state till September. So there's gonna be, you know, some final tweaks and finishing up of items between this set and what actually goes up to the state.
Justin, how do you guys feel about sharing a model with somebody who knows how to navigate a model?
I think we,
Then we share the.
yeah, I need to check in with Tim in our office about the sharing of the BIM 360. Yeah.
The-
You can't do any damage to that.
I
so-
wasn't asking that. I can't utilize that the way I can utilize Revit. I was looking for the Revit model, because then I could set filters and colors, and in a snapshot, I could see all the receptacles, I could see all the registers, like that, blue, all the registers will be blue, all the data outlets are orange, so I just don't know how you guys feel about if I could sharing the model, so I can navigate the actual model, the Revit model. Probably the only one here who uses Revit.
Let me just quickly see if you can't do the same thing in the BIM 360. Do you use BIM 360?
I use Revit.
Well,
I don't really
it's
get
based
into
on the
the-
Revit model.
The answer is no.
Well, it's the model that is just on cloud-based sharing site that allows you to go through all of the same.
It's a viewer for it, but I can't go in and set all the filters and do all the different things and do the isolations and that, you know what I mean?
I'm not sure that you can't do that on BIM 360, that's why I'm just.
I just don't know how, I mean, if it's all the same interface, fine, I don't.
All right, so you'll look into that. Thank you.
I got a question.
Yeah.
On the, so we're doing the test wells for the geothermal now, right? And they're gonna be part of the permanent system.
Yep.
How can we do that without having like the approval from, that we just did today? Like, how's that not part of that approval? It's site work, right?
It's more
It was,
professional.
it was actually bid. We had an invitation to bid and we put it out as just a separate specification. So 2 wells, 500 feet, certain amount of casing, and then testing of 1 well.
Well, we didn't need to get approval from the Board of Ed and everybody else to do it, or we did it?
We did not.
I
That's,
put that in a similar category to like the borings, I guess.
yeah, I was gonna say, that's more like,
To the geotechnical, the borings.
yeah, it's more like it's investigatory.
Well, it's just because it's permanent, I guess.
It would be permanent, but the reason why we did it was so that they can investigate and then they can finish their mechanical design, so. Yes, it's similar to taking borings or any other kind of, information, soil
They don't
samples.
use a boring when they use the school.
But if the wells had been bad, we wouldn't do the wells.
I
right?
get why we did it. I'm not saying we shouldn't have. I'm just curious why it isn't part of like the.
It's testing.
It's
It's
a
not testing,
real,
though,
it's
it's
a
a
real good
permanent
question,
well.
but.
But
It'd
it
be
isn't
testing
permanent
if
if
we weren't
bad.
using it.
right?
It's only
Yeah.
permanent
But
as
it's
a
not permanent
byproduct
if
of
it's
the
bad,
testing.
right? So it's not permanent until it's actually good. It's like Schrodinger's well.
It's like a month.
It is both until.
So write a whole
we
book
find
out.
it.
There you go. Is it a well or
I
is it
feel
a
like you
well?
should be able to.
All right, anything else on schedule?
Nope.
Okay, monthly budget update?
Okay, well, before I get to the budget update, I will fill you in on the test wells. So, Simon started out at Norton this week. They arrived on Monday. They drilled the first well. It took them about a day and a half, and then they moved on to the second well, which is in a wooded area. And that took about a day and a half. They finished up yesterday afternoon. So we have 2 wells completely grouted, ready for testing. They have to wait a full week before they can do any kind of testing. I'm not sure, the technical reason why, but they'll be back out there next week to do their tests on 1 well.
I think it's because the grout needs time to cure.
It could be that.
So to make sure that we're not getting any latent heat from the curing process.
Yeah.
And what about North End?
So North End, I talked to Simon, he asked me if there was any urgency. We obviously did Norton this week because the school was off. I told him that there was no urgency, but he said that he's got his equipment in town and he wanted to start moving on it. So I said that he can certainly move to North End, you know, if he's got the equipment available.
So we should have results on both for our next meeting.
We should have results on both. Yeah, I mean, if they drill next week on North End, then it'll be the week after, so, yeah, that might be close for North End, but we should have results. Yeah. Okay, so, I'm sorry, any other
No,
questions?
go ahead.
Okay, so on the budget, you can see in the budget that we've highlighted the areas that we've actually moved funds from the owner's contingency up until the various line items to cover those additional services.
Did you pay our budgets?
I did. It was in the package. Yeah, it's all part of it.
Actually, okay. Then we did have.
Dennis, can you hold this up for me?
So budgets are in the back. So we've highlighted the areas that we've actually moved funds from the owner's contingency to cover the expenditures that the building committee has approved, some additional services for architecture, owner's rep, the pre-construction for the pre-detailing, so forth for the North End. And then on the Norton School, the budget that's in red, you can see that we actually made some adjustments where we took out the money from the owner's contingency, moved it into construction so that we would fund those. Yeah, it was kind of a value management suggestion, but it basically increases the construction budget. And if you go to the last pages, you'll see there's a written explanation, kind of itemizing what those changes are for. So the major amounts that we've moved are in the Norton School for construction. So $495,757, that was in schematics, and then $752,000 at the design development.
Any comments?
Yeah, just a question. I thought the steel pre-detailing was part of construction, not pre-construction.
It's moving, it was in the estimate for construction, but it's actually, I think it's in the pre-construction, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think they're starting it now, they're gonna start it before construction.
No, I get that, but should it be in the construction budget?
We could, I think that's a matter of accounting. We can certainly take a look at where that should go, Dennis, but, you know, we thought that because it was part of the.
No, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we start expending that money, it will actually go against the pre-construction number, not the construction number.
Right, yeah. Because at that point, we don't have a GMP yet, so I think that was the reason why we.
Okay.
Anything else on budget?
If it was part of it originally though, shouldn't it come off of that, or no? So you're like increasing the pre-construction budget by the 80, I'm just looking at New Norton, 80,011.
Right.
Shouldn't the GMP come down by?
We did have the discussion that, as Laurel said, that was included in the estimate for the design development. So, you know, we can go over to make sure that we're not double dipping, and we'll make that adjustment. But I think you're right, I think it should.
Yeah, in theory, the structural steel number that we carried should go down by that value.
Yeah.
Okay. Open item log?
Yep, so we have, I think, 4 pages of open item logs. And we do have we have the comments from the consultants on some of the open items that that were mentioned in the design development phase. I think you'll see that with some of the resolutions or comments, the items can be closed. We wanted to just leave them here so that they could be seen by the committee, and then what we'll do is we will mark those as closed, and then we'll take them off of the print for the next time.
What's that?
It's a new question nowadays. Feel something.
We must be going through a negotiation right now, start.
Any comments or questions regarding the open item log?
So we'll be getting a set of drawings to review again on 5/10? Is that what I'm reading here?
But that's, I mean, we're planning on having that an internal review check set, but I don't think that
No, I'm
there's
just
any issue.
reading the response.
To determine whether or not these are
68,
closed?
69, 74. 64.
Everything that's in
Yeah. Yeah, just wondering how we're gonna check those off as closed.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, so where these things are specifically tied to the, items that need to be referenced in drawing sets, we can either, curate that with specific items. We'll make sure that the committee has a comfort level that these things have been closed.
Show and tell, but please don't start us at, this is where we were back in.
It's actually where we started, where we went,
Where we're headed,
where we are.
headed, and change direction.
Okay, noted, Dennis.
A 30-second vignette will be just fine.
Okay.
Thanks.
What about the past due target dates? Do they get reevaluated, or we got February and March in here for a bunch of things?
So the space standards waiver, we are wrapping that up. So, we can close that. So we do go through to make sure that we are covering those, Chris, but, I think we've been focusing on trying to get the packages out to the state, so, some of these items still need to be revised.
So my question, do we have updated dates, or are we now in critical? I thought the dates were generated to show a critical juncture where a decision needs to be made, or something would be put in jeopardy, a timeline or something. So if we've missed some dates, does that mean we're in a critical spot now on those items, or do we just put a new date in?
Well, for example, with the item number 37, the space standards waiver, we did want to get that done in February, late February. We had a lot of back and forth between, Jeff and Vin's office, and we do have that done now. So we use that date as a point to kind of, keep it current and prioritize. So I think we do use those dates as a target. If we've gone beyond those dates, then we will reevaluate them.
Well, we're not late with the space standard.
We are,
waiver
no.
submission, so-
And the surge protection, that's something that obviously we had a date of March to try to get resolved, but I think that we're still working on that one. So we do have our bi-weekly meetings with the team, and we do bring up these items as to whether or not, you know, they're critical, or whether or not we can push them off a little bit.
So are you gonna be, I mean, this is all I have to look at, and I see a missed date, so when I see a missed date, just like I will on the schedule, when we miss a date, if we miss our CDs by 2 weeks, I'm gonna say, hey, what other dominoes fall because of this? So I mean, does somebody adjust these so that we can look at it and say, like, if I look at number 44 and I see May 10th, I'm like, no big deal. But when I drop down to 45, I see a 329 and, well, okay.
Yeah,
Let me read that one and let me see if that's an issue. Now, I'm not looking for an itemized issue, let's go to, on each one, I just wanna make sure this thing is being maintained, or if things are gonna change from, you know, to be urgent or not, as things get added to the list and as target dates get missed.
I would suggest that, you know,
I'm a dates guy.
yeah, if a date isn't met, that, you know, just strike out and put a new date underneath it, if it's not a critical date.
I'll be honest with you, we're focusing on responding to the comments, and I think we need to revisit the date. I mean, per your specific reference, the comment is many items in specifications are highlighted in yellow. Why? You know,
It was a random one I picked because of the date, I didn't even read the comment on it. I'm just, I see some of them that have a comment that really, to me, would change the status to closed. But
Yeah.
they're still open.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm looking at it as, I would think that sort of maintenance should be done. Maybe the date was met and it just hasn't been changed to closed. That could be,
But all we're doing is just giving the comments, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so for next meeting, we'll go through those.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, otherwise those columns are meaningless if they're not being either updated or,
Contract amendments, do we have anything, Rich?
Nothing.
Nothing? Architect and CMA risk update.
Okay, so in your packet, a fairly abbreviated update, I think we've covered most of the items, or the real critical aspect of tonight's meeting, which was the Phase 1 early procurement and site enabling bid packages. I will note that we have both PCRs scheduled for next Wednesday. It's going to be an all-day endeavor. We're meeting in the morning at 9 o'clock for North End and at 1 o'clock for Norton. We did include the energy models for the North End and Norton as part of your packet. And as we referenced earlier, those reports show EUIs of 20.5 for the North End and 21 for Norton. So in both cases, we are currently below the anticipated EUIs that we kind of started with, which is good news.
Yeah, Craig had talked about 26 or something
Yeah.
like this, so
Yep.
what, is it just, as we've gotten more into the design, they found that we were
Yes.
more efficient than they thought?
Yes.
Those are wonderful numbers.
So it's a combination of building envelope, some of the thicknesses of insulation, some of our insulation values in our glazing, the quantity of glazing on facades, our roof assemblies, coupled with the mechanical systems of the building. So.
I had gone up to a workshop a few weeks ago up in Manchester on some of the net zero buildings that they've done. And those buildings will run anywhere from 17.9 to 19. And here we are at 20 and 21 and not even a net zero building. So, we'll never be net zero because we can never get enough solar on the buildings, but very, very efficient. I was pleased to see that.
So one of the open items log is a question about, what a baseline PV array would be able to be installed at each of the roofs. I know Kohler Ronan has that information. I think probably for the next meeting, we'll be able to provide that information. So that is work that's been ongoing. That's not part of this report, but it's something that, as we've been discussing, the EUI and the energy models that we know is happening. As we mentioned, the herpetologist and the archaeological survey are ongoing on the site. We're hoping the holes that we're digging for archaeological survey are not trapping the turtles. But so far, that's our
No matter what we do
internal
there.
joke, right? So far, there's nothing to report, at least I don't get any frantic calls to say, hey, you gotta get out here to take a look at this.
Nothing alarming has been found thus far.
Okay. Alarming, of course, is a relative term, but, so nothing to report at this point. We mentioned the early procurement, we mentioned the open items log. We have, as the chairman noted, we have been conducting some coordination meetings with facilities. We referenced the low voltage one that we held yesterday. Last Friday, we held a food service equipment coordination review. I think we're in really good shape for the kitchen serveries and the kitchen back of house areas. We provided the updated food service equipment drawings as part of this package. I know they're small, so look at them digitally in the email version. I believe that's it. We have some upcoming meetings that we're scheduling for clock and paging. So classroom clock and paging systems. There are a couple vendors that we're curating to make presentations to the district in terms of that gets coupled with some of the communications and low voltage discussion to understand exactly how we're going to be facilitating two-way communication, announcements, etc. So that will be an upcoming meeting, as well as, this is the fun one, the Playscape presentation and discussion with the principals and the district. So that's something that we should be getting from have you spoken with Summer recently? I know we asked her to.
Yeah, she emailed back, said she's gonna pull that together.
Okay, so that's something
We're
that.
just waiting for dates.
Yep. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, any comments or questions? Yeah,
I'm just curious, those EUIs, that won't qualify us for a high incentive from Eversource, right? 'Cause I remember there was some threshold.
we went in on a, what is it called, tier 2 or something,
Yeah,
2?
Path 2, yeah.
Path 2.
Yeah.
With that EUI, we maybe could have gone in on a path 1, I don't know.
Yeah, that's more Craig's specialty. We could get an answer for you.
Just
But
curious.
there's a higher reimbursement in path 1.
Right.
We have an upcoming meeting that's going to, we just got an email yesterday from Eversource
Right.
saying we need to
Yeah.
set up a meeting. So
Good.
it'll be interesting to see. But we should, in path 2, we should be seeing about $500,000 per building, $1 million from Eversource. And then hopefully we get something also from the Inflation Reduction Act, maybe up to $1 million or more there. So a couple of million doesn't come to us, we don't get to go anywhere, but the town will appreciate it.
Maybe the town can fork it back over.
Anything's possible.
That's not possible.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I will take a motion to adjourn. Sarah, second Sean, all those in favor? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Joe.
Very good meeting.